this week's episode of the That's So Cincinnati podcast. As always, or as usual, I'm your host, Burl Love, editor of the Cincinnati Enquirer. And what, is this 2 episodes in a row?
I think so.
I think
Maybe
so.
even 3.
Casey Sloan co-hosting today. Hi, Casey.
Hey, how are you?
And Phil, our producer, in the behind the switches and the knobs and the buttons and the and
all the things.
And all the things, yeah. So we have a very timely special guest today.
Yes.
It is Bobby Slattery, the owner of 50 West and a bunch of other businesses he does with his, following in his father's footsteps. But the reason it's timely is, let me set the stage for you. Ohio was one of the states that was allowing the production and sale of hemp-based THC beverages.
Yep.
And this was exciting for the local brewers in town because as the peak of the craft brewing industry was realized and things started to settle down, they were looking for the next business venture, and drinking habits of consumers were changing, and people were looking for options other than beer or liquor, and these THC beverages started becoming popular. And 50 West launched Sunflower. Have you had Sunflower?
I have not, but I feel like I have to try it. I live right by Party Source, so.
Oh, okay. Well, we're going to get to that. So everything's going along fine. And then all of a sudden, the state passed a Senate bill, 56, I believe, that banned the production and sale in Ohio of these hemp-based THC beverages. So what happens next is people that want it from Cincinnati were driving across the river and buying it at like the Party Source and other locations. But many of the producers of these beverages had to kind of scale back. And a group of them filed a lawsuit to basically not be prosecuted or penalized if they continued to sell these products ahead of federal law that is supposed to take effect in November, but got pushed back. And 50 West was one of 10 companies, businesses that filed the lawsuit and were successful last week with a federal judge ruling in their favor for a temporary restraining order, allowing them to sell and market these beverages again, at least for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
All right. So that was a lot. That's complicated.
It's been a lot this whole time.
It's been a lot. Right. So there's lots to dig into here. And plus, I think Bobby Slattery not only can enlighten us about this, but tell us a lot of other fun things happening in his world. So
Absolutely.
Should we bring him on?
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. Special guest time on the That's So Cincinnati podcast. As promised, we have with us in studio, overlooking this extremely gray and foreboding sky as we record this during the rainy season, which seems like all summer long. We have Bobby Slattery with us to talk about a lot of things. But first off, you are one of the, I would say, leaders of the effort to overturn Senate Bill 56, which for our listeners who might not be familiar with Senate Bill 56, can you explain what that did in particular to your business when we're talking about 50 West?
So, I mean, it's been a journey. SB 56 was a bill that was written. It created guidelines and laws around THC hemp beverages in Ohio. And so our politicians, it was passed through the House and the Senate with guidelines we were excited about and we worked with them on. And then the governor crossed out all the language on all the rules and regulations and made it all illegal. Which had a big effect on us. We have a brand called Sunflower. It was going to make up probably about 50% of our total production. And we're one of the largest breweries in Ohio. And so, affected jobs, affected our plan for the year. But, this is I've been doing a lot of reading up on prohibition. This is just modern day prohibition. This stuff doesn't happen fast, and so it's part of this roller coaster adventure that we've been on. And that's where when they outlawed it, we were gone. Now, obviously, we just had a court ruling recently. This past Friday, a judge ruled we have a temporary restraining order, basically saying, hey, we need to look into this a little bit further because
in the meantime, you can put Sunflower back on the shelves in Ohio.
Is back on the shelf in Ohio. Yeah, it was on the shelves in Kentucky.
Yeah.
That Kentucky got their laws put together. So it's back on the shelves in Ohio. I was actually out on a run yesterday, and somebody just drove by and put their hand out the window and said, "Let's go, Sunflower!" So that's been.
Did you know that person?
No, I don't. And it's happened. I was getting on a plane coming back from spring break with my kids, and somebody did the same thing. They go, "Keep fighting for Sunflower, my kids." So, do you know him? I said, "No." We're just. Trying to make a difference. So
it's become sort of big on social media though. Like I see your posts when you go up to Columbus and everything, and people are really supporting it, rallying behind it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what's been really fun about the space is I didn't invent Sunflower. I actually, when our team came to me and said, "Hey, we're thinking that we see a movement inside the space and there might be a need for it." And I was like, guys, I don't know. If you've been to 50 West, we're families with kids. We're going to bring, THC and into family place. And it's been so fun watching just did it evolve. And ours is 5 milligrams, which I think that plays a key role in this whole thing is a lot of this is educating consumers of what the use case is. And so for us, it really was the soccer moms really driving it, coming in and drinking it on Sundays.
I was going to say you were concerned about bringing it into air quote family environment, but I think the soccer moms have already been doing that.
Yeah. Well, I think what's so interesting about the space is that the use case for it, a lot of it is just people are changing I shouldn't say changing. They're getting very specific about their use case.
Yeah.
So a lot of times with our access to information as it relates to calories, as it relates to your sleep, a lot of people want to be able to shift the lens in a social setting with a beverage. We're made to do that, right? I use the example, nobody shows up to social settings and sits around and eats gummy worms, right? Mm-hmm. So if your friends were eating THC gummies, you don't bring, candy gummies with you so you feel like you're part of it, right? That's not it. But beverage is different. There's something about that. If your friends are drinking alcohol, you'll sit there and sip on a water or a soda. It feels like part of the equation.
Yeah, you have to have something in your hands.
Yeah. And so I think what these drinks really did was what we've seen is it's somewhere between an NA beverage and alcohol is what a lot of the use case for this is. Are these people that want to shift the lens a little bit so they feel like they're a part of it, but then, they're not looking to get totally wild. And we haven't explored with this. Ours is a 5 milligram, but one of the things we were working on prior to it getting banned was looking at doing like a 2.5, because some people's issues are like, look, I can drink about 3 of them, but if I'm hanging out for like 3 or 4 hours, I actually want to be able to drink more, but I'm not looking to get more intoxicated. I actually just kind of want to stay stabilized. So that'll be something to see in the future here.
Yeah.
Is that where the industry's going? Are there other products that already have that lower concentration?
So there's some, I think, and that was a big question when we launched it. Like when we first came out, it was like more is better. Right? Like, hey, you need to be making 50 milligrams. These are selling the best. We talked to retailers. But I think where the space ended up, or what we saw, at least here in Cincinnati, is that the use case, if you want to get that level of milligram, a lot of times you're better served going to a dispensary because you're looking for a different outcome. It's no different than, if I'm going with my buddies on a bachelor party, I might be ripping shots of tequila, right? But I'm not just going to hang out, go to a business meeting and take a shot of tequila, right? We laugh at that because we know how ridiculous that sounds. But that's what's happening inside this space right now is education on dosage and things like that, which is a big reason, we got that injunction served, but it's not what we're fighting for. We're fighting for regulation to help consumers better understand this stuff. Because I had somebody say this to me the other day. They came in and they said, I had one of those THC beverages. I lost my mind. I couldn't see straight, whatever. And I said, well, how many milligrams was it? And they said, I don't know. And so to me,
which is incredible because when you're talking about alcohol, people are very aware of that.
Yeah.
Well, especially when you're talking about bourbon, what the proof is or any other liquor.
Yeah.
And then, people are pretty educated on beer. If you go to a brewery and they have a high
ABV.
Yes, you get a small glass of it, right? They don't
Yes.
like give you a pitcher and say, enjoy yourself.
It's equivalent to trying alcohol and being like,
yeah.
I tried it. I drank a whole glass of vodka and I blacked out. I'll never drink a beer. And you're like, whoa, wait a second.
Right.
These are two different things. And don't forget though, I mean, so I'm 2012 was when 50 West launched. I can't remember. It might have been 2015 or 16. We weren't allowed to make a beer over, I think it was 10%. There was laws in Ohio, and the reason for that was because consumers wouldn't understand the idea of drinking a beer that was over 10% alcohol. Well, now we've become, I mean, any restaurant bar you go to, they list the ABVs. Now.
Sure.
Right.
That was not commonplace. It seems to us like it was now, but in 2008, that wasn't commonplace on a menu. It just said, here's the beer, and you didn't look at that. And so same with calorie counts. I mean, that's a big piece in this as well. Alcohol is limited with calories because it requires, in order to make alcohol, you have to have sugar. And so that's one of the other reasons with these THC drinks that some people are drawn is we can get the calorie count low. Ours are 40 calories in a drink. We can get down to 0 if we wanted to. It wouldn't taste very good, but so it's been a fun ride, and we've really enjoyed it.
So where do you think things are going now that you got the TROs in place, you've got it back on the shelves? Is that buying you time for, I mean, it seems like the governor's veto pen is pretty indelible with this at the moment. But what are you hearing?
So, okay, we have a couple of things happening. So at the federal level, and this is very confusing, at the federal level, language was put into place to ban all these products as of November. Okay. So as of November, federally, this will be illegal. The White House came out and they said, look, we need to put an extension on this because we want to get rules and regulations put into place. So they went to Congress and the Senate and said, look, we want language put in. That just got passed through the Senate this past week to extend it into December. And why that's a big deal is because in the political world right now, we're dealing with election cycles. So pretty much everything's kind of stuck till November. But what they're doing is by extending it to December, it allows them to then write language. So a bill yesterday, Greg Landsman was a co-sponsor on it. Another woman out of Texas had it. So they wrote clear guidelines federally that they're going to push forward to try to get passed through. When that's passed through, the state, that's really been one of the holdups with the state is saying, well, this is going to be illegal anyways federally, so we're going to just ban it outright. Other states like Kentucky said, no, we're going to put these rules into place because we think this is going to change. So from our end, I knew nothing about politics coming into this. I mean, I hate to say that, but I'm just not a political person. Didn't really get involved. I had to get to learn our General Assembly well. We reached out to, I think there's 133 in the Senate and House together, spoke with all of them. Overall, the sentiment in both the Senate and the House is extremely positive. They liked SB 56. I would be willing to tell you, I think about 125, 126 of them were in favor of an override of this.
Wow.
Why we couldn't get the override to happen was Speaker of the House and Senate President refused to bring it to vote. They wanted a really high number. The Speaker of the House had asked us to have 59 Republicans in support, saying they would do it. We got to 57. We only, I think, had 2 opposed, but we had 6 that would not make a statement. And he's like, I'm not bringing it without it. The Senate wrote a letter to the Senate president and asked him to move forward with it. And he chose not to do so. So I think some of that is just allegiances and behind the scenes politicking. But with the governor moving on, we're hopeful that, a new governor comes in November. And I think that there's the appetite to get this thing done.
Yeah.
We should poll Ramaswamy and Acton on how they feel about it.
I've asked them both.
What did they tell you?
Acton is they're like, you've got our support. I don't, Ramaswamy's camp has not been against. I think they're just a little bit more buttoned up with it. Part of it is Rob McCulley, he's going to be his lieutenant governor. And Rob was the one who had the ability to take a movement from the Senate and wouldn't move. He was kind of looking at the speaker. But I think that if you take the general consensus amongst that group, there's so much support there. Really, in this instance, it was the governor that put his foot down and said, we're not doing this. So the other thing you got to understand is we're not that far removed from prohibition. So as much as I want to look at the governor and be like, you just don't understand this. Why would you do this? His grandfather very well could have been against alcohol, right? Prohibition came from Hillsborough, Ohio. That's where this all anti-alcohol movement happened. And so we're not that far away from it. It was the 1920s. So he might have been raised in an environment, where even alcohol was really tough to understand. And this is just a whole nother level. So, unfortunately for us, it's led to a little bit of a roller coaster.
It would seem, though, that argument was settled by the voters when recreational marijuana was passed.
That's what you would think. That's what I thought.
I just don't understand. I can understand, the government's or the governor's argument, and people are entitled to their own opinions on alcohol, marijuana, I mean, any other kind of intoxicant, right? But the voters of the state legalized first recreational marijuana, and then, medical marijuana, and then recreational marijuana. This seems to be such a small little piece of this entire movement to legalize, like the last grasp of control, maybe.
It's like I said, sometimes you just grow up in an environment where you believe something. He's put himself in a position of power. My belief going through this, one, I don't, having seen politics behind the scenes, it makes me like, oh gosh, that's a very difficult thing to do. But but I think in this instance, I think he just thinks he knows better and he's protecting us, and that is his belief, and that is what he wants to do. I believe as a politician, it's your job to represent the people that elect you. I can tell you that this is the hard part. We don't know who the opposition on this is, other than just a few select people here. So I think we're getting there. But you also have to remember, when Prohibition went through all of its stuff, this stuff doesn't happen in a day. It might take, I think we're really, really close to it. We wish we had it done.
Do you have the patience to ride that out?
Oh God, yeah. Okay. Yeah. I look at it as like, and I'm, it's raining out today, and I'm looking at it like, well, it's good for the flowers, right? Like, so I'm an optimist by heart, right?
I think the flowers have had enough water. No, I'm just going to put that out there, Knock.
So I think I feel like for my career as an entrepreneur, this has been like such a joy for somebody that like didn't really pay attention in a government class. Like, it gave me a whole understanding of how the inner workings work. It gives me faith in it is going to get done. I believe that the way that our American government is structured allows for things to work out the way that they should. Sure, things are frustrating, but it's been a joy. I think this is my Prohibition. Like, somebody fought for. I run a brewery, right? And I get to make alcohol, and I just got to make it, right? And all I had to do was fill out some forms and do that stuff. There were some guy or girl, back 100 years ago, was fighting their butts off for my right to do what I do today. And so I kind of look at what I'm doing right now is going to be...
And doing it anyway. Drilling tunnels under the breweries that you can sit. If you've been to Ghost Baby, that's a brewery tunnel that you're sitting in.
So I think
and there's also a tradition, I think, in Southern Ohio of having to go across the river to Kentucky for whatever your vice is.
So we honestly, we were fortunate of our location being near Kentucky. Like our friends at Great Lakes, they're up in the northeastern side. And so as much as people in Cincinnati were like, well, how would I ever get this? I mean, I don't know what the legality of it is to drive it back over, but it was like, well, just drive across the river. And, Party Source has got a lot of it right now.
I mean, we dug into that. Obviously, the laws on paper would say you can't do that, but there's just no way to enforce it in a bi-state market like this.
And I think that's we'll see where this temporary restraining order goes. But that's the other thing is, if they lift that temporary restraining order, I don't know how. We don't know who's regulating it, how it's all going to be. We've followed the guidelines and the laws. I mean, we've adhered to them, but I think we're at a point with these drinks where they're so present, they're so being used in most cases positive. The governor doesn't like it when we say that, because I think he's acting like we're saying these things cure cancer or whatnot. They don't cure cancer. It is a vice. Like, if you drink too many of them, it's not good for you. But I think that there is a use case. A lot of people, there's been people that have come and said, hey, I'm suffering from this illness and I can't drink alcohol, but this allows me to drink with my friends, and I'm not drinking a lot of it, but I just like having it. So that side feels good.
So thank you for bringing us up to speed on all of that, because it does get complicated. And I think people forget that there's a federal law taking effect in November that, as you mentioned, got pushed back to December conveniently after the election. So we shall see. I want to circle back. You mentioned that your team came to you with the idea to produce these because of the demand, right? The need. But also, it seemed like that was a great move as brewers like you were dealing with sort of like the end of the craft beer boom. Yeah. And it leveling off and kind of settling down to where it's going to be, right? Yeah. It's not going gangbusters like it was 10, 15 years ago. So, I remember being in meetings with our news organizations, talking about like what are the topics we need to cover, and there
was one of the. You guys had a writer.
We did, yeah,
totally dedicated to my industry.
It was such a big thing that we were trying to figure out. Well, we need to reassign someone who this is their beat right now because breweries are popping up, like weeds. So, how central to your overall business plan is having this option?
I mean, we just look at ourselves at this point like we're Willy Wonka. We're going to make all the flavors of all the different stuff. And sometimes you hit and sometimes you don't. And sometimes it makes sense and sometimes it doesn't. So this was one that we hit on. And our team, they brought it. Where they saw it coming was they saw some retailers. Like, so we talked to our retailers that we sell product into, and they said, hey, there's this movement of people that are like drinking these things. And then it became like, well, what's the milligram that we do? How do we figure this out? And we just happened to find the right occasion. I also think that we were fortunate to have a lot of people coming through our space that they were educating themselves. So that's been a fun part of this. Is the government is kind of like, well, what if consumers do? People really educate themselves on things quickly, and it happens fast. So yeah, it's going to be a part of our business moving forward, and that's been a big argument with the breweries. We had this. I was on the board for the Ohio Craft Brewers Association for 6 years. And that was a hard topic to talk about because the question is like, are we beer brewers or are we beverage manufacturers? And we still struggle with that a little bit of what that identity is. But I think most breweries, we've invested in the infrastructure to make beverages. We're good at doing these things. And so a lot of us are jumping into that. Like, a lot of this movement, it's not me, Adam Bankovich over at Rheingeist, Chris up at Great Lakes. There's been a whole slew of us. Scotty over at Urban Artifact. We've all been working together on this, and it's kind of been fun because, early craft beer days, we were all kind of buddies building the industry, and then the industry, kind of goes and you're competing against each other. So it's been,
All right. So I want to shift gears a little bit because, your name pops into the news surrounding this debate. Everybody associates you with 50 West. But if you are a consumer in Greater Cincinnati, you probably have come across some of your businesses started by your father and carried on by you, and you guys are in business together. Like if you go out to a place called Slats in Blue Ash, that's one of your restaurants. Get it? Slats, Slattery, right?
That's how I got back here.
But also, if you open your mailbox and you get one of those magazines chock full with coupons, that's you guys too. Like, talk a little bit about the kind of serial entrepreneurship of you.
Well, so first of all, you guys and my dad and I have an amazing dad. My dad is a serial entrepreneur. The guy is like, he sees a business, he starts something new. And I think one of the coolest things that he did with me as growing up as a kid is we were just taught to believe that we could accomplish anything you want to accomplish. Like if you want to get something done, you can do this. So we were never self-limiting. One of the other parts about it was, when we talk about coupons, I don't touch the coupons. I have nothing to do with that part of the business. Now, as a kid, I grew up in an environment believing that I was one day going to grow up and, maybe take over for my dad and sell coupons. And the coolest thing that he did was like, that was never part of it. He just kind of let me find my way. And I came back here to help run Slats Pub, and I learned how to manage the restaurant, and I learned how to serve food and stuff. But he let me find my thing.
Come back from where?
I was in Chicago.
Okay.
I was in Chicago. I got engaged, and I called him and said, hey, we'd like to come back to Cincinnati at some point.
That's a very Cincinnati thing to do. You leave, you escape, and you think, you're a young person. You're like, I just got to get out of here. I got to see the world. I got to go to New York or whatever. Then you come back.
Yeah. That's exactly what I did.
It's home. It's home, right? I love this city. It's every Thanksgiving, I want to be running the Thanksgiving Day race, right? There's just parts of it that you love. And so he had a manager there that had left, and he asked me to come back and manage the restaurant. And I think my wife still is not happy about it. She's like, what? We left Chicago. We had these good jobs. You came back and you're managing the restaurant. And then, I think with 50 West, that was sort of my opportunity. I understood how to operate restaurants at the time. And it was an opportunity for me to grow and sell. And so I started 50 West in 2012, and he just lets me, do my thing. And he's an amazing dad. I hope my kids, life is about finding purpose and finding a passion for something. And he created an opportunity for me to be able to do that. So I'm super appreciative. And, we're still business partners on paper. 50 West is both of us, but he lets me run that piece. And then he does all the spirit stuff. He's got a movie theater out in Eastgate and stuff. I don't touch that and slats and whatnot. So yeah, it's good.
So talk about the decision to expand the 50 West concept.
Oh, like in life?
Like you have a location
in
now
Chillicothe.
In Chillicothe.
We have another one in Mason.
And you brought it to the burbs up in Mason.
Yeah.
Which that place I've been to a couple times.
Yeah.
And it's just as happening and hopping as...
Also at the Reds Stadium.
We're down the Reds. Oh,
yeah.
I love the Reds. So we're not in the Reds anymore. We'll be back.
Okay.
Well, I had to do the sponsorship.
Because the 50 West Burger was really good
Trust me, the Reds weren't happy about it. Neither were we.
Okay.
It was a financial thing. We were trying to... We'll get us... We'll be back someday.
Okay.
We'll just
That's what
leave
I like
it at
to hear.
I mean, you got to try things, right?
So you have to remember when we went the burger bar, okay? So we started as just a brewery. Our job, what we were trying to do was educate people in Cincinnati about craft beer. There just wasn't a lot of craft breweries at the time. This is 2012, 2013. You guys had a beat writer covering it for, all of the city. So that's what we started with. And then as more and more breweries came in, it became like, well, what's your differentiating factor? And so this is right around COVID. And this wasn't a product of COVID. We were planning it prior to it, but we saw this need for families. Like everybody was bringing families to breweries, but the breweries were actually going out of their way to not cater to the families. Like, get them out of here. Get the kids out of here. People don't want to drink around kids. So this idea of like taking a root beer stand in a brewery and smashing them together, that's what the burger bar was when we opened that in 2020. And I think what we discovered this space. In my mind, the burger bar was the place where you go after you win the football game on Friday nights, where everybody goes and celebrates the community. It doesn't actually work that way because the football game ends so late that all the kids have to go to bed. But that was the thought, right? Yeah. In a movie, that's how it would play out. So we created that, and what we mean in our community over there to Anderson, to Marymount, to Indian Hill, to Madeira, to Milford, it really means something to that community. Like people bring their kids there, and it's just this space that, like, someone described it once. What's the artist? I'm pulling a blank. He does these beautiful paintings of people and landscapes and celebrating.
Not Bob Ross.
Ross. I'm gonna. It's gonna come up my name. Norman Rockwell.
Norman Rockwell.
Okay. I mean, someone said this to me one time. Yeah. They go, I'm sitting here and
Of course I know where you're going with now.
Yeah.
This kind of like
the Americana.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So
Jinx.
On a sunny day at 50 West, and he goes on a sunny day at 50 West, it is a Norman Rockwell painting of just families. And I've actually looked for this painting. It doesn't exist, but you both can visualize it.
Yeah.
Of course. So that's what this is. And so we did that there. And then really you can only satisfy sort of this 5-mile loop. And so what we looked at was like, hey, let's go 10 miles away and see if we can meet that to another community. And so that's where Mason came from when we opened that spot, was let's try to do this again. My goal, and Chillicothe was different. That was follow the road, but it was before the burger bar. So, but my goal, like in the next 10 years, and I say this to our team all the time, I want to be the next Frisch's. And
there's a space for that.
There's
now.
There's a lot.
But you got to remember, like, and that's the Frisch's, the La Rosas, the Skylines, the great,
like a Cincinnati staple.
You know what that is, okay?
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason we had to. So the Red Stadium will be back there, but I need to get to like 5 stores because right now we're kind of just like in between. We have 2, so we're actively looking to build more stores, and we look at really what we look at as school districts. We want to be the best first job for kids.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah.
That's it. We want you to come and say, that was my first job. I loved it. And then one day you have kids and you're bringing your kids back.
I get it now.
Idea. Yeah.
I get the mission. Yeah. All right. Well, now let's fill in the rest of the gaps of the Bobby Slattery story. So you're from here?
From here. I grew up here. I love Cincinnati.
We have to ask where you went to high school. I mean, that's
I went to Indian Hill. So I went to Indian Hill High School, but I grew up my dad lived in Indian Hill. My mom lived we lived in Milford for most of the time growing up. So, yeah. And then, I love Cincinnati. What else? What other questions do you want to know?
What brought you to Chicago?
Oh God.
Did you go to UC?
No, I didn't. Ohio University.
Okay.
#1 party school. And I was,
yeah.
I was really good at throwing parties. I don't mean that. Like,
I feel like that's on brand though, you know?
So I was not good at school. Like I was not good at school, but I was really good at throwing parties, which all makes sense. Like in where my life has gone.
Yeah.
But I do a lot of work inside of high schools. And I think one of those things in your life is like, I'm not a straight pattern, right? Like I didn't go to college and get an accounting degree and go to work at an accounting firm. Like I've been all over. But when I look back at it, you know, I had a job out of college. My first job was I drove a Verizon wireless Hummer to concerts and sporting events, and I gave people high fives and threw out T-shirts and stuff. I'm a really good greeter. Like that's my best thing is saying hi to people when you walk in the door. So I did that, but I literally traveled the whole country on this road. And then now I built this business that's about this road trip. And you know, that's what 50 West was. Route 50 goes Ocean City, Maryland to California. So, I went to high university. I lived in Chicago, did that job, and then came back here. I got engaged after I was in Chicago. I think we were there like 6 years. Got engaged to my wife and then came back here to run Slats. And yeah, I love to run.
Have you ran in the Blind Pig?
I love the pig.
Okay.
Yeah.
You love it?
I
hear that all the hills are awful. We had a friend run in it, and he looked like he was dying the whole time.
It's a hilly course.
No. This is the thing with marathons. I was not a runner. I was like, and I've said this in other spots, I was like going through a depression, and then in my college, too much drinking, too much not being the best version of myself. And I was like on the verge of flunking out of school. And I just was like, I got to get my life together. And so I just I'd seen my sister-in-law now. I saw her run a marathon. I thought it was really impressive. And I thought that if I ran one, my now wife would be impressed by me. That's not
it's always about a girl, isn't it? Like,
yeah.
Like, why'd you become a rock and roll star?
Very good wolf.
Yes, exactly. It was like this motivating factor. But so marathons, what I love about the marathon is it's the most positive energy in this city. At one time, you can go to and we're looking at the Bengals stadium, your guys' beautiful office. But when the Bengals are winning and scoring touchdowns, it's awesome, right? 63,000 people excited. But then when things start going bad, it just shifts dramatically, right?
Yeah.
The marathon is hundreds of thousands of people in the city, and some of it's fun. It's the runners that are putting the effort in there, but some of it's just, you know, the kids that come out with their, you know, they got up early in the morning and they made that sign and they said, good job. And so I love that. I try to run the pig every year. I do the greeting at the airport. I put on like the pig costume. Yeah. And then I jump up and down and welcome people to Cincinnati. I just feel like that's funny.
Are you on the Pigworks payroll for wearing the
costume? No. They invited me onto their board a few years ago, but yeah, that's so very passionate about that. And being a dad, I have 3 kids who are amazing. And being a dad, that's the best. That doesn't matter what I accomplish in my life. There's nothing better than that.
Now, are any of your children showing signs of that serial entrepreneurship gene?
Oh my God. Yes.
We're all of them.
You gotta remember. So part of this, I think, goes back. You were talking about my dad before. My dad was one of 10 kids. And he was the second oldest. And all of us are wildly entrepreneurial. Like, I think some of that was large family. So my cousin Emily, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Glossier.
Yes.
She started that.
What?
I know.
What?
Like, isn't that crazy?
Yes, it is.
That's insane. She was on the cover of Time magazine.
Yeah, I literally.
You get it.
When I was getting my master's degree, I literally Glossier was an example that I used for marketing and everything. This is crazy.
She's like the poster child. But some of this was. We did a lot of work with a company called Zingerman's out of Michigan. They're amazing. It's this little deli with these. They've done much more than a deli, but they're so cool. But one of the things they do with vision and goal setting is they have all their, everybody on their staff sets visions and goals for themselves. And telling someone to create a goal for a year, a lot of times that can be very crippling for people. We were raised in an environment where you can do it. Right. So the idea of saying that you're going to start a business or the idea of saying that you're going to run a marathon or accomplish anything, it's not scary. It's not, it's just like you just say, I'm going to do it. And worst case, you fail. And who cares? Some people, that's crippling. I think that's part of the reason that is a really important thing for people to understand is you can accomplish a lot of things. And a lot of times the reason you don't accomplish it is just because you self-limit yourself by not believing you can do it. So yeah, my son is already, since he was a little kid, he started a breakfast stand when he was a kid, and we sold breakfast sandwiches out of it. And then right now, yeah, he's got a company on Instagram called Dirty Works. They'll do any of the work you don't want to do.
How old is he?
He's 13. He can't drive. So it actually means I have to do a lot of the work because I have to drive him over. But he just, he just wanted to do that. And yeah, I think it just goes, it's in our DNA. It's how we were raised.
That's amazing. Well, Bobby Slattery, you're a busy guy. So we're going to wrap this up. And thank you for being on the podcast. Fascinating listening to you talk about your passion for your businesses and the community and everything like that. But we also like when podcast guests break news. So do you have any big announcements coming that you can tease, or do you know where the next 50 West is going to be?
Oh God, you're putting me on the spot here.
We're paid to put people on the spot type people.
I mean, any big things that are coming up that nobody knows about yet. I mean, here's what I'll tell you. For communities, if people are looking, if they like a 50 West and you live in a community, reach out. We're actively looking for that right now. We could
have a contest, have these communities come together.
Yeah. There's a lot that goes into this. They might be disappointed if it doesn't all happen. You have to, we've got,
imagine people making their case on social media.
Yeah.
We've got, event wise and things right now, we've got our pool run coming up this weekend. We have a back to school thing happening. I'm trying to think if I don't have anything that's secret that we can't.
Nothing to tease. That's fine.
Nothing that, I don't have.
You know who to call when you're ready, though.
We're
here.
We've had some big, exciting things happen recently, but nothing. The big news was really just we had that injunction that we were, wanted to get taken care of. So, no.
So stock up on sunflower while you can.
Yep.
Legally.
Or go to Party Source.
Yes, you don't have to go to Party Source now. Okay.
Oh. If I have to say this, because you guys, I'm coming from a funeral today, and I'm just going to bring this up, but tell people in your life you love them. I just think that's a really important thing to do. So, if there's just out of the blue, it feels weird, but people you appreciate, just make sure you let them know that they're appreciated and you love them. I think that's something we overlook easy in our lives, and do that. If you want one thing from me today, go do that.
Well, my job as host is to try to wrap this up. I can't think of a better way to wrap it up than that. So, Bobby, thank you.
Yeah,
thank you.
So, Casey.
Yes.
I'm feeling really inadequate now. I need to be starting businesses and, I know. Inspiring people.
Yeah, especially Glossier. What the heck? Came out of nowhere.
That did come out of nowhere. That should be our next podcast guest. I can tell you're already looking forward to it.
I am. Free samples, please.
Would you hate me if I told you that I wasn't aware right away what he was talking about?
No.
Okay.
Because it's a makeup company. It's a makeup brand.
Okay. All right. Well, as we alluded to earlier, it's been raining a lot. It's been storming. We were actually in the middle of the tornado warning, in our 12th floor glass office building, and no one went to take cover.
Yeah, my apartment building, it's an old factory, so we have the big old factory windows, and I watched it the whole time.
That's just the way newspaper journalists are. They got to look out the window, and
it's the Midwest.
And I'm looking at Facebook, and other people that I know work downtown are posting pictures of themselves in the basement of their buildings.
Yeah, Zach went to the basement. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I walked out and I was like, "Look, I'm in the middle of the newsroom." I was like, "Look, I'm not your daddy." But I'm here to tell you, you might want to think about taking, the advice that we are publishing right now, the alerts that we're sending out, and get to a safer spot. I don't know if anyone did or not, but
that's okay.
I shouldn't be admitting that on the podcast, but I think
Do we have a basement?
Well, we have a first floor that part of it's under grade level. That would have been a very easy thing to go down and hang out there for a little bit. Next time I'm going to be the grown up and force everybody to take cover if that happens again. Yeah, I'm regretting that I didn't exert my, the power invested in me as editor to tell people to use common sense.
Right.
But then I didn't go down either.
So it's fine.
No, anyway. Well, you had a really cool assignment.
I did. It wasn't even an assignment. I just went for fun.
Well, tell me about it.
Yeah, so I went to the NFL Hall of Fame induction ceremony this weekend.
In Canton, Ohio?
Yeah, a long 4-hour drive, but it was worth it. We went with one of my old coworkers from Tampa who's in the Pro Football Ultimate Fan Association, which is what John Robinson, who proposed to his Steelers girlfriend, fiance now, at the tailgate that I covered on Monday Night Football. He proposed to his fiance, whatever. They were all there, a bunch of Bengals diehard fans there, this whole thing, and it's charity based. So we were at the fan fest. We were struck up a conversation with the stranger, Zach, my fiance, and I, and he gave us 2 extra tickets to see the Hall of Fame induction. And we were like, this is awesome. We get to see a Cincinnati kid, Luke Kuechly, get inducted. And the morning of, they have a parade that goes through downtown Canton, and it was the coolest parade we've ever seen. I mean, just Hall of Famers riding through convertibles, like Steve Largent, Ronnie Lott. It was crazy. And then here comes the Carolina Panthers. So, Luke Kuechly's coming up in a blue, I believe, Camaro with his dad. And then
Carolina blue Camaro.
Yep. And then with his dad. And then behind him was St. X marching band, which I thought was a really cool touch.
Were you
for
expecting
him.
that?
No, not at all. Because the other Hall of Famers, like Larry Fitzgerald, it was just him and his sons in the car.
We should have reported that St. X was going to go down for that parade.
Yeah, I don't think we knew, but I took
Maybe
videos.
Maybe we did and I missed it. People ask me, you're the editor of the Enquirer. Do you have to read everything that the newspaper publishes? I'm like, there's no way I could.
No, absolutely not.
Create 1,000 pieces of content in a month.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for the actual induction, his dad introduced him. He came out and right in the front, there was a little section and the whole St. X football team was right there watching him. And that was pretty cool.
The current team?
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty amazing. That's got to be inspiring too.
Yeah, for sure. He mentioned Cincinnati in his speech too. He said he grew up down the street from here in Cincinnati. And I was like, well, not really down the street, but yes.
Right.
It was a long drive, but yeah, it was really cool and very inspiring. He's
down the interstate.
Yeah, he's the second youngest NFL player to be inducted to the Hall of Fame. So truly amazing. I mean,
and it wasn't a walk in the park. There were a lot of people on the ballot that didn't make it this time around.
Yeah. Yeah. So very cool for him.
And we're still hoping that the Veterans Committee will get Ken Anderson.
I know. Yeah. I saw Anthony Munoz. He was in the parade. So that was cool. I saw his bust at the museum. Yeah. That was cool. But yeah, overall, good weekend. Good weekend for a Cincinnati kid.
That is a great weekend. Well, I can't top that. I didn't do much. But
it's okay. I wasn't here last week or the weekend before that.
That's right.
So
you left on the most fun weekend of the late summer.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we should wrap things up, don't you?
Yep, let's do it.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the That's So Cincinnati podcast, a production of the Enquirer and Cincinnati.com. Our producer today, the one, the only, Phil Didion.
If you enjoyed the podcast, please subscribe, give us a rating, and share it with a friend who loves all things Cincinnati.
And finally, if you value local journalism, and I know you do, and haven't subscribed for full digital access to Cincinnati.com, now is a great time. Just go to our website, click on the subscribe button, and you will find a special offer just for you.
Thanks again. See you next week.